We're back and we're ready to attack. You know, our mutual buddy Josh Smith was, I did one with him the other day and we had a good time talking. When did you guys first hook up? You guys go back a ways, right?
Oh, man, I first met Josh Smith. Our friendship is just as old as Riley. I don't know how old his son Riley is, but our friendship is exactly as old as his son. So that's cool. And we met at the Cafe Boogaloo in Hermosa Beach, California. Somebody told me there was this fine guitar player playing down there I should check out. So I had to go down and check him out. And it was a shock factor because he had Bob Glob playing bass. I was like, what's this dude? Like, I had never met Bob Glob before, you know? So I'm like, I got to go check this guy out. So, you know, we've been friends ever since.
Awesome. Yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, a great musician, but just a good guy.
Yeah.
And that's always a good thing because it's never always the case. Although for the most part, it's interesting. It's like, you know, people say that people usually play like they are. You know what I mean? As far as personality wise, you know what I mean? Or at least that's the way, right?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Yeah.
And Michael Landau was also kind of that was pretty big influence on you as far as the business is concerned, right? Did you hung out with Michael and went to sessions with him and stuff, or?
Well, you know, Mike was like, I met him at a gig, but I grew up seeing Mike play, you know, even when I wasn't old enough to get into the club, I went anyway, you know, and I would hear him play with the Raging Honkies, you know, and it was amazing, you know. Right. So just seeing him when I first was old enough to go out to clubs and stuff was amazing. And then, you know, years later, I met him and we struck up a friendship, you know, like that. So we just hung out all the time, you know, and I was like the blues guy and he was like the hero. So it's one of those rare times that you actually are really dear friends with one of your heroes you grew up listening to, you know. So that's, you know, it's a love fest.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, doggone it.
It's a beautiful thing.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, it's you know what, now that I'm doing these interviews, I got to watch what I say because I think I'm always saying the same thing. Let me ask you this. Tell me about the time. But you know, you're from LA. You know, that's a place that a lot of people, musicians, might think to move to. And then, of course, there's a lot of people moving from LA to Nashville and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, people do what they do for reasons that are their own. But you've moved to Europe. But as you said, 4 months out of the year. Tell us a little bit about what that was all about, if you care to. I mean, if it's
absolutely no problem. I moved to Europe because I fell in love with the girl.
Perfect.
You know, and I was like kind of playing mostly in Europe, you know, just like the European blues things and with other artists that I had played with previously. You know, we played a lot in Europe because that's kind of where it was for me at that time, you know, so I wasn't really that scared. And my daughter was old enough, you know, and she was in college at the time. So it didn't seem that crazy to move, you know, other than, you know, I'm LA my whole life, you know, and everything. But I go back on a regular basis. But that's really kind of what led me to move. I mean, really more than anything, it wasn't like for a career opportunity or anything. I fell in love. I was a musician and I feel like I can kind of live wherever.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
The world is small with an airplane or.
Right. You know, nowadays, that's a little weird.
I know, totally. You know, so I mean, you know, it is what it is. But yeah,
that's a fact. Well, we were supposed to go out to Josh's place to finish up this record. We were out there doing some stuff and did it at Josh's, and it was great. And I was like, well, let's come back here and we'll just finish it. Take some other tracks I had done back here and bring it out there.
Yeah.
And it was about a week before we were supposed to go out there is when the crap really hit the fan, as it were.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, Josh, I don't think we can come, man. If I go out there, we might not be able to get back home, you know. And he was totally cool about it and so on and so forth. But it's just such a drag because it was so fun. It was such a cool place. And now everything's just kind of on hold. And it's a strange time.
I was actually in LA because I was trying to get from Switzerland to LA to be in the States because I had a gig with Michael Landau and Eric Johnson in Texas. So I was like, come on, Kirk, Mike Landau, Eric Johnson, like, so
I'm coming.
I would do whatever if I had to, like, whatever, take a ship. So, but I was in LA, so everything started locking down, and I was like, okay, this is never going to happen, so I better go back home where all my guitars are and everything and records, So I made it back home, but it was right there, right a day or two before they locked everything down.
Right.
March,
And now things are spiking out there again. It's like, doggone it. But what are you going to do? We'll get through it somehow. As I like to say, you know what? Things are either going to get better or they won't. We've got no choice.
I mean, that's really true. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, just as long as the power works here and my records are over there, my record player, I'm going to just brace it.
Inevitably, when we've been doing a few of these interviews now, it's been, we're talking about this whole idea of the, being in quarantine. Yeah. And as I said, I've gained a quarantine, but that's another situation. But, I've just been talking about the fact of, we're so spoiled as musicians is that if we had to just stay home for a period of time, it's like, we really don't care because, as long as, not marginalizing income, of course, as long as you're not like in peril of not being able to, keep your power on and eat food, those are very legitimate concerns. But those aside, if you have to stay home and your only real task is being not bored, to be able to sit around and play guitar all day is not really a hardship.
It's funny because these things right here that you've been doing, like I saw the one with Rick Vito, and I love Vito's playing, and Steve Lukather, of course, it's amazing. And I realized that these guys are sort of like my musical dads in a way, not to make them old or anything, but and it's like you always kind of want to hear what your dad's got to say about things, right? And to just hear these guys that have been there and done it when it was really cooking was just cool, to hear Steve Lukather talking about, doing the interview, which was just amazing. And Rick Vito, too, just talking about like playing with John Mayall.
Right.
What is that, Banquet in Blues? I think.
Yes.
And Larry the Mole Taylor and Telecaster Black Guards with super reverbs. Woo! Right. Anyways, sorry.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's wild. It's I have found that this little respite from gigging and so on and so forth, it actually has been it's been good, like for refining. You know what I mean? Like refining what I do, looking at some of the old repertoire and going, that stuff wasn't half bad. I should maybe revisit that stuff. And you know what I mean? Because we're always thinking about, the next thing. What's going to be next? Get that next record out. Go do this. And then when you got a little time, you're like, hey, you know what? I can breathe for a minute here and just kind of hang and check stuff out. And hey, that thing wasn't so bad after all. Maybe I should do more of that. Have you been experiencing some of that yourself?
Absolutely. Putting flat wound strings on guitars,
Oh, yeah.
All kinds of weird things, trying different guitars and just, okay, this is more comfortable. That sounds like crap.
Right.
This is cool. Just stuff like that, it's been. But
it's amazing. I bought this little cheap nylon string guitar yesterday. It was like a music go round. My son needed some stuff, and we were going in there to buy a mic stand. I was like, $179. It was orange, which already made me weak. You know what I'm saying? But I don't have a nylon string guitar, so I grabbed this nylon string guitar. It's got a Fishman pickup on it. I plugged it in. That thing sounds unbelievable.
There
so it's
you
just
go.
Those little things like, this is going to lead to a whole nother creative thing.
Yeah.
Crazy that way, isn't it?
I had that happen with an SG, this Gibson SG. It's been really fun. It's just like one of the lower line Gibson SGs. And amazing. It just sounds all bright and everything. Yep. I'm like, this is like a Telecaster.
Exactly. The other day I was getting my guitar. I had some work done on a guitar, and while I was they do this thing where you call them when you're in the parking lot and they bring the stuff out. And I was like, I've got a hankering for a flanger or a phaser. It was a phaser because I've been listening to on my walks. I've been listening to like some live Zeppelin stuff from like 77 or from their 1980 tour. You know what I mean? Of Europe. Quality is subject to but it's glorious in its way. And Page is using that phaser, and then as I'm listening to shuffle on my phone, like some of that Rock and Roll Animal Lou Reed stuff would come on with Steve Hunter and that Wagner dude, and they're both got the phasers going. And then I was watching that Stuff video from them at Montreux, and Eric Dingle would put on that phaser, and it's like, God, that sound. I've got phasers, but there's a particular thing I was looking for that my phaser that I have doesn't do. So I was like, what do you got? Do you got one of those like script phasers? And the guy's like, no, there's this new it's a Phase 95 that you can make be like all three of the different eras of the MXR iterations. So I got this thing. It sounds magnificent. And you forget about how much stuff was done with that freaking pedal. Am I right?
I have a fetish for phasers. I actually really, really, really love phasers. I might not use them all the time, but I collect small stones.
Oh, yeah.
But I just got this new Boss phaser. It's like the big pedal, and it can do everything. It can sound like a Leslie, a phaser. It's got two different phaser modes, and it sounds incredible. Coming from a vintage guy like myself, this pedal is amazing. So check that out too. It's a lot of fun, Wow.
Yeah, it's so funny with the pedals is that I'll get them, and now I've just become, as I said, it's like I'm used to just a cord into the amp, so the smaller the better. So this little thing is like it's one of these little mini jobs. And the power thing came with it. I'm like, yeah. That's always my problem. It's like, where's my wall wart? Oh, Jesus. And I'll have a pedal board, and every now and again I'll get it outfitted with all the cool stuff. And then it's like in the way. And then this little room we've been doing these things with Dylan and me, and it's like, you're taking up a lot of real estate having this freaking pedal board in here. So next thing you know, that damn thing's out, and you know how it is. It never ends.
I keep looking at this Reverend guitar behind you with the black headstock.
Yes.
Remember, like, just from the top of it, it kind of reminded you, remember way back, well, like maybe in the 90s, Billy Gibbons had those Telecasters that were all black.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me, I was like, man, that is cool.
Thanks. This is actually the prototype for what will be my next Reverend guitar, which was going to come out Summer NAMM before, the Pestilence hit. But so it's also the slightly larger body, but it's set neck and Gibson scale with an ebony fingerboard. And then I'm going to have those new Fishman Fluence signature P90s that will look and sound like P90s, but they'll be quiet.
Wow.
And they'll have 2 voices. And then I have this really cool out of phase thing playing, because I was saying to him, I was like, it's so funny when you talk to people about the out of phase setting. I'm sure you've experienced this. You talk to people about, well, I want the Peter Green wiring. And they'll be like, just do an out of phase thing. And like, no, it's got to be that thing. So when you're on a, 2 volume type of guitar, like a Les Paul or whatever the case may be, and you're in that middle position, you're out of phase. If you back off on either one of those volumes just a little bit, it becomes this fat, really cool sound. And I go, that's what I want. So what we figured out to do is that inside, you're going to be able to set where you want that phase to be. So you can go in and actually set it be just that little back off thing. So then when you actually hit the button to be in the middle position out of phase, it'll be that sound.
Wow.
Which I think will be really cool.
That's funny, because my Dan Electro, I have this Dan Electro, and I had it wired. Now, help me on this, because series or parallel, I don't know, whatever.
Right, same here.
It's like out of phase, right? And, like you said, the thinner sound, right?
Right.
But I got this thing wired, so it's like out of phase, but parallel or series, so it's loud.
Right.
It's like the same volume all the way, but out of phase and loud. So it's sort of like the same thing, but totally different.
Right.
Because we love the fat out of phase thing. That's
exactly. Amazing. Well, it's amazing how much of that sound, because, there's people that just don't get it. They're like, you'll talk to me like, well, I want that. Well, no one uses that out of phase sound. I'm like, let's do a quick recap.
Yeah.
of the songs that were done with the out of phase sound, you know. But I love that sound. And when you can get it just right, man, it's a glorious thing.
Oh yeah, and also in the track too, like
you
know, like super bright, you know, like full on both volumes, you know, sitting in the track just like all chanky, like James Brown or something. You know?
Yes, woo! It's a glorious thing.
It's a beautiful thing. So I got to hear that thing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that Rascal. I mean, it's cool because it's got just regular P90s in it now that Reverend makes, and they sound great. They got that real honky, especially the bridge pickups got that cool honky tone to it, you know. But it is noisy as hell because that's just the way those pickups are. If you're in a, you know, we got the computer in here and this light and all this kind of crap. So it's like, so it's going to be cool. We did voice the pickups and they sound great.
Wow.
But we just had one more little tweak that we had to do. And then, of course, all hell broke loose with Pestilence. The last trip I actually was on an airplane for was out to Boston to voice the pickups. And then it's like, so we just have one more thing we need to do. But that'll be coming out and that'll be super fun. Because I think most people, you know, sometimes I'm doing a live feed or whatever, and people will ask, why P90s? And I think most people prefer the cool sound of a P90. It's just that they're not practical because of the noise. Wouldn't you say that's true? I mean, if you had your choice of like a really cool P90 versus a humbucker, you'd probably go with the P90 if you could be guaranteed it wouldn't like be buzzing like a demon. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially for some reason on the Telecaster guitar, P90s really are cool too. That, you know, I don't know what it is, you know, but P90s on a Tele style guitar is just a thing, you know?
Yeah.
I rocked that for a long time. You with my Sir Tele, you know? And
yeah.
That was a lot of fun. And then I had it, you know, where you could get out of phase, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, I love that. I like humbuckers too, but I like the really kind of brighter humbuckers.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so but a quiet P90 would be amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I'm looking forward to unleashing upon humankind.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. I can't wait to hear you. It's going to be amazing.
It'll be fun just to get everything back down. Again, you know, these are, you know, we can't be whining too much about, my doggone guitar can't come out right now when there's people actually having real problems. But it will be nice to get that thing out and it'll be fun. You know, because I'll, you know, kind of have the bases covered with that guitar and the other one. And of course, there's always, you know, future iterations with maybe 3 pickups, but we shall see. Yeah. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but
but still, though, that's really cool, though.
Yeah,
you know, that's like a 2 gig bag kind of thing. You got the heavy P90 thing, you got your twang going. Woo!
Exactly.
Double
and
voice.
then Dunsky.